What's up, everybody? It's me, it's the B.O.B., and I'm here with my man, Maestro. Maestro, how are you doing today?
Outstanding, my man. Just got through celebrating the quad. Gonna go out and grab a grabbed a couple of pizzas last night and a couple of Chicago chili dogs. I still like the New York pizza better, but it's okay though. It's okay. When in Chicago, do as the Romans do, or whatever the phrase is. I forget.
Well, I mean, the quad was crazy. We had one game that never seemed like it was out of hand for one team. The other one, it was pretty tight going into halftime and blew open in the second half. But we got our championship game. But before we talk about that, this is Around the Table with Big Bob and the Maestro. That is the Maestro. I am Big Bob, and this is the podcast that we talk about whatever we want. So, Maestro mentioned yesterday the quad, Hoopsteria, SimWorld U. You had Xavier taking on SMU. We had UCLA taking on Bama. Xavier, again, they losing at halftime, but they didn't let that hold them down as they pulled away in the second half, winning 66-57 over SMU. And then going over UCLA, absolutely dominated Alabama from the beginning to the end, picking up the 78-55 win. Looking over, well, let's start with the first game of the night, Xavier SMU. How surprised are you about what happened? And what are you looking forward to for Xavier heading into their final game of the season?
So, I my fun size boo, my reality is I'm not surprised with what happened. And I'm even less surprised with how it happened. The first time these two teams met, Xavier was down in the first half, 29. Xavier's down 24-29 to SMU for the first time they met back in January, and came back and outscored SMU the second half 40-33 or something like that. And what happens is this time they were only down by 1 point, 29-28, right? And they only outscored SMU by 10 in the second half. And I said, and everybody laughed at me, right? I said, Xavier has SMU right where they want them. This is how they play. This is what they do. This is how they do what they do. And sure enough, it all just came to fruition in the way it did. And that whole thing of how teams hold on to the basket for that one good shot when they're behind, or they're only down by a couple of points toward the end, right? I've never been a fan of that idea, and I've never had a coach who was a fan of that idea, because when you need points, you need them as soon as you can get them. And then there's a thing you can play. It's still very legal for you to play. It's called, I'm trying to remember. You told me the other day. Oh, defense.
Oh yeah.
You can play defense. So once you get the lead, you can you can stop the other team from scoring. You can do that. It's within the rules, But I tell you something, my man, watching Maury Washington, he looks like he should be coming out of the Pacific Ocean scaring small towns in Japan, right? Another double-double, hate to say it, he's still my favorite I know the tournament MVP, whatever they call it, normally comes from the winning team. But he is still my favorite, man. He rocked a double-double in every game except for one. And it just was super impressive. And he realized he's a freshman, right? Once he learns how to use his, 8'11", 347 pounds or something like that. Once he learns how to use all that mass, oh my goodness, man, he's going to be really impressive. I just love watching him play. So anyway, that's my takeaways from the first game. Xavier did exactly what they wanted to do the way they wanted to do it.
Yeah, I think the most impressive thing for me, I'm going to stick with Xavier, and it's not necessarily what they did in this game. You pointed it out last week. You go look at what Xavier did during the regular season. They did not string together back-to-back wins, but they would gladly string together 3 or 4 losses in a row.
Oh, easy. Too easy.
They gladly would put that together. They're on an 8-game winning streak at this point, starting back whenever they beat Creighton. But they're playing a complete team basketball. I don't know what this, it's not like the fact that we have a team with a losing record in the national championship game for Hoopsteria. Never expected that. And again, we talked about it before. Do they deserve to be here because of their record? At this point, prove that they shouldn't be here. Because
That's what I'm talking about.
Prove that they shouldn't be here. Again, they won 8 they were math 9-18.
Yes.
Before they went on this 9-18.
Mm-hmm.
If they win the national championship, they'll finish 500. I'm not. I won't be mad at that. I won't be. At least it's not a losing record. But that team, they just again, you look at the way that they're scoring the ball, and it's everybody getting their shots in today. I would say they didn't do the best of job. They weren't efficient today offensively, but they are known as they're a defensive team, and they held SMU to 57 points, 29 in the first, 28 in the second. And if any team can slow down UCLA, it's probably Xavier. I expected it to be Alabama. It wasn't Alabama. When you look at the pure star power, Alabama on paper was the better team. But UCLA just, they pulled it out. I love that it's been, has it been 3 seasons since we saw JJ Ortega in SimWorld Prep? Maybe 4. I think he might have been the Ground Zero season. I can't remember if he was Ground Zero or season 1.
He was Ground Zero. You're right.
I love JJ Ortega. Loved him. But he kind of disappeared. But right now, he's getting a lot of love because of what UCLA is doing. You're hearing his name a lot more. But they have stars like LaGerald Carroll and Jalen Snow there. Evangelos Mullins, I mean, that was a name I felt like every week in SimWorld Prep whenever he was there. He was top 5 highlight every single week. Blaine Kidd, first triple-double in SimWorld Prep history. UCLA, they still do have that talent. I'm very shocked that Alabama lost the way they did, but whenever you look at Rodrigo Falls going 6 of 13 and Quincy Henderson going 4 of 12, DJ Childs 1 of 9. I can't tell you how many times I saw DJ Childs heading to the basket going up against all the bigs that UCLA was going to, like, it was just, Bama did not play a smart game of basketball at all tonight. I'm taking away from Xavier and SMU. Let me jump back over there.
I'm with you. No, I'm with you.
But Xavier, I'm naming all these players for UCLA and Alabama. Xavier doesn't have that guy. And they're showing that they don't need that guy. Again, playing pure, just total unselfish basketball. That's why they took out SMU tonight. Both Cinderellas. Either way, they're both Cinderellas at this point in the season. You said Maury Washington again. 13 points, 12 rebounds. He was efficient. If they would use him a little bit more down low, maybe they would have won tonight. But he doesn't get a ton of shots. But he was 6 and 9. Did what he needed to do down there. But Macklin Duval, 5 of 15. He was just Cam Jones, 2 of 11. You can't have that. Cam Jones was probably most people's X factor heading into that game last night, and going 2 for 11. He's the guy that you couldn't have go cold, and he was the one that went cold.
That went cold.
Yeah, but again, we say that got to give so much credit to that Xavier defense.
Yes.
You just have to. It's not just because Cam Jones went cold. That Xavier defense, they did what they were supposed to do. And Xavier, they went through number 3 Memphis, number 7 number 6 Utah, number 7 Michigan State, number 9 Illinois, number 13 SMU. They were the underdog in every game in Hoopsteria, and here they are, one more game, taking on the stars of UCLA. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen on Wednesday? Tomorrow,
leave it to you to ask me the question. It's just like, you know me too well. Like that's why you're my fun size boo, because you already know what's in my head. Because this is the number that's going to back up my thought of what's going to happen tomorrow night. UCLA went 29 for 57, shooting a little over 50%, right? 501, but whatever. And that was good enough for them to crack out 78 points. Okay, so well done by them. They made up. They made up in an odd way. Alabama got off more shots and just shot worse. Okay, which is a testament to Uckla's defense. Now on the other side, Xavier went 25 for 64 at a 39% clip, or almost 40%, but it was like 39 percent clip. So what does that tell me? That tells me that if Xavier plays their defensive game, those numbers get closer together, dude.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Xavier can win shooting 40%. Mm-hmm. UCLA cannot shoot, and especially if they're forced to turn the ball over then. So I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna get it out the way early. Xavier's my national champion.
Yeah, I'm gonna point out, if Xavier can play a clean defensive game, I want to I want to point out the free throw attempts in that UCLA Bama game. UCLA got to the line 16 times. No, I'm sorry.
Yes, they did.
They didn't get to the line 16 times. I'm sorry. They had 16 attempts from the free throw line. Bama, 3 attempts. Whenever you are playing that messy of a defensive game, you're just, and I get it. At some point during the game, like you're giving up. You're gonna be smacking arms and just throwing your body at people. That's gonna happen. Xavier isn't gonna do that. That's not what Xavier is gonna do. So if UCLA plays the exact same game that they played last night against Bama, against Xavier tomorrow, I'm with you. I think Xavier pulls this one out. I think Xavier wins the national championship with no clear-cut superstar on that team. It is whoever's got the hot. It's going to be Maccabee. I mean, Maccabee's the main one there, but he's not the bona fide superstar that all these other teams have. They don't have these 4 and 5 star prospects coming out of SimWorld Prep and the high school levels. So it's like Xavier, they will take a bullet for each other. And I think that come Wednesday night, when this game is all said and over, your Hoopsteria national champions are going to be Xavier, the Musketeers.
Yeah, I know, right? A 1-2-4 seed national championship. And I'm telling you, okay, so tonight on the call, it was 2JP, or JJP as he's officially known. That's his government name. I call him 2JP or J2P because I'm from the hood. And B. Aloysius, Octavius, Ornthar, Gerard, Alan, Ryan, Ron, the 4th, the half, 5th, and the 3rd on the call. And so we were talking about this whole concept, right, of like the seating thing. And I basically said the same thing I've told you. You've heard me say it so many times that you roll your eyes, and I don't blame you. And that is, I don't care about the seatings.
Yep.
I like the world being on fire. I like large dinosaurs that are half cyborgs running through the land. I love the fact that people at Domino's order their lunch break food from Pizza Hut. I like that craziness that happens, because at the end of the proverbial day, a phrase that is gotten so wrong in the United States because we forgot what it meant, you have to win your games. And Alabama, the number 1 seed, came out playing a number 3 seed, and they looked like number 2 the entire night. Yes, UCLA had a lot to do with that, as you pointed out. And yes, getting to the line, all those, UCLA did all the little things. And when you have a team that can score at a 80-point clip, when they do the little things and they're just that focused and they play defense, your night just got long. Your night just got long and difficult. And that's what UCLA did to Alabama. And on the other side, Xavier being a 1-2-4 seed, doing what they're doing, the way they're doing it. You know me. I'm a grungy old dude born on the dirt floor in Mississippi. I love defensive-oriented teams. I love teams that their offense starts with the defense. I love teams that line up and everybody's got points. Everybody has some sort of stat filled out, even if it's only minute played, because I know they went in and did what they had to do. It's just, that's the kind of basketball I like. It's not high flying. No, it's not pretty. They're not going to give you a lot of highlights. But when you break down the way they do it, people have plays at different moments. And Mickabee, I call him Mickabee because it looks like his name is spelled like something should be on the McDonald's menu.
Yeah, you're
like McRib, McRib, McChicken, McFrench fry, whatever, McFry, whatever. I see a team like that. I see a team that players make their contribution at the point when they need to make their contribution. Like Castaneda, names rarely get called except for maybe 3 or 4 minutes in the game when he's basically turning over 4 or 5 possessions for Xavier in the positive, or Cornelius Laverette, who gets block after block after block, but they're all compressed later in the game when they count. When you see that, how can you not love what's going on at a school like that? And then I'm going to say this, and it's going to come out sideways, and I apologize. If I'm a big-time recruit, sarcastic recruit behind sarcastic, quotes around big-time recruit, I would want to go to a team like that. Because if we keep that same principle and I can go there and shine and be a star and I can win in a place that, what is it? Xavier's entire school program and the entire university has like a little over 4,000 people. They're basically like Gonzaga.
Something like that.
Yeah. So it's like, if I can go to a place like that in a town like New Orleans, you'll never find me. You'll never find me. I play all 7 years of my eligibility, and you'll never find me afterwards.
You'll take the red shirt, the gray shirt, the COVID year.
Yeah, man.
You get your graduate year.
and at small forward or off guard, Dr. Maestro, he just received his PhD in physics, and it's going to be offered tenure as a professor in the science department.
Oh man! So that's what we got. Xavier after Wednesday night. National champions SimWorld Hoopsteria taking down UCLA. Let's shift gears a little bit. We'll make a quick shift in gears. Still got the SWBA Eastern Western Conference Finals going on. Wednesday night. I'm sorry, not Wednesday night. Tonight. Pacers, Knicks. Pacers up 2-1. Think they're going to keep it up?
You know what? How easily could it have been 3-0?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how, we talked about how basically, I believe it was the first game after one of our, no, maybe, I might be confused with SimWorld today. Apologize. I'm confusing my dates. That did not come out right at all. Sorry, Mark. But it was like the fact that the Knicks lost game 1 the way they did, and the fact that they won. So I guess in a lot of ways it balanced out, right? Indiana is such a strong team. Oh my goodness gracious. When you see the fact that they don't just have the one threat from deep, they have at least three consistent threats from deep. The fact that they can also turn on defense, and they've been one of the few teams that's been willing to play defense all season, no matter what. Quite frankly, I'm going to be honest with you. I really thought that Milwaukee would have had a better showing, and I know this is late to the table because you and I haven't really talked about this, but I'm kind of not surprised Indiana's had the showing they've had. I'm a little more surprised at the way the Knicks have done it because they've done it more as a collective, but the way Indiana is in each game, including the game that they lost, it taught me something about them, and if they're not your favorite right now, I can't imagine who else would be.
Yeah, I'll be honest. The game that they lost on Monday, or on Sunday. Sorry, I get my date. My days are all mixed.
Yeah. Oh, me too, brother. Me too, man. Come on. Look, we're in Hoopsteria, baby. Come on, we're in Hoopsteria.
I quit watching when it was 55-35 Indiana. I was done with the game. So I was shocked to see later in the night whenever the Knicks pulled that 106-100 win out. Because again, I quit. I was like, the Pacers, they're not going to let off on them. They're gonna keep it up. They're gonna absolutely destroy the Knicks, and they might sweep them. But it is what it is. Cat did what he needed to do.
Yes, he did.
He really did. I mean, did he score? Did he score 20 in the fourth? I can't remember. No, I don't remember what he did. He took over.
Yes,
in the fourth quarter. And then still, I was so shocked. That's like whenever you quit watching a game. That's why you can't ever quit watching a game. I remember which one was it? Vikings Colts. I think the Vikings were down.
I know exactly what game you're talking about.
30-0, I think, or 33. I think it was 30-0.
33. It was 33. It was 33. It was 33-0 or 33-3 or something like that.
Yeah, they were. I didn't watch the whole game, but I listened to it, and I shut it off whenever it was. I think when it got to 30-0, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. And then I turned the radio back on. Me and my wife went out to eat, turned the radio on, and we sat in the car for about 10 or 15 more minutes because I was like, hold on.
Wait, exactly.
Three quick touchdowns later, and I'm like, let's see what happens here. I
was so lucky. I was so lucky. I was able to watch the entirety of that game, and it reminded me of back. The Philadelphia Eagles came back on the New York Giants with Michael Vick at quarterback. And I was actually at that game with family who knew nothing about football. They had gotten tickets. I'm sitting there and I'm basically holding a class on football as we're watching the game. And people around us started leaving. So they said, so one of my cousins said, well, what do you think they need to do to win? And everything I said happened. And the game that you just talked about with Kirk Cousins bringing the Vikings back against the Colts is the exact same thing. Okay, what needs to happen? They need to have this at this point. They need to if they can get it to this score by this point, then they have another chance for another possession, but they need a 3 and out, or they need a turnover, and blah, blah, blah. And all those things happened with it. And I think they eventually won it in overtime, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Was it overtime win?
I'm pretty sure,
so, the Eagles won that game with a punt return by oh my goodness! I forgot the wide receiver's name.
You're talking about it was Deshaun Jackson. You're talking about the game. The specific game you're talking about is one where I believe it was where they said, "Do not punt it to him."
Yes,
and they punted it to him, and he returned it for a touchdown.
And it was such a bad look for Coach Coughlin, who I love with all my heart, because he was just always so kind and always so nice to me when he never had a reason to be, when he knew he was going to cut me from the Jaguars before I got there. And so it was just such a bad look for him, because you saw him snap it in the game, and that's when you know the pressure that those coaches are under, right?
Yeah.
That if you don't win, and that's what makes Brian Flores' deal in Miami even more funny, the fact that he was told to lose, and they got mad at him because he refused to lose. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. But you're right, though. You have to stay in every. You never know what's going to happen and how it's going to happen.
Yeah, and last story, because then we'll get our quick take on the final conference championship game. I almost left. It was 2016, I think it was. It was my senior year at Penn State, and I almost left at halftime of the Penn State-Ohio State game. And I'm glad I didn't.
Me too.
Glad I didn't. But yeah, you never know. You got to stick it out, because you never know what is going to happen, because things can happen really, really quick.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, we could talk about stories all day long. The Oklahoma City Thunder, they're up 3-1 on the Timberwolves. One more game coming tomorrow at 8:30, Wednesday at 8:30. Do you think? I really felt like Minnesota gave it their all in that game 3, and they probably gave it their all to the point of, I don't know if they have a whole lot more left to give. The game last night, it was a close game. Oklahoma won by 2. I think it was 128-126. I don't think Minnesota has anything left in the tank. What's your take? You think that Oklahoma City wraps it up, or you think we're going to go a couple more games?
I think Oklahoma City wraps it up, and it goes back to my statement earlier where I thought a little bit more would be there for Minnesota. I apologize. I know I said Milwaukee early. Milwaukee, I feel the same way I feel about Milwaukee. The same way I feel about Milwaukee, I feel about Minnesota. Like I felt like those two teams I thought were the most complete offensive and defensive teams, and I've been proven very wrong about that. And it just, I truly within my heart of hearts felt as though with what we've seen from Milwaukee over these past years, that it would be the opposite in terms of the 3-1 deal. Because then let's be honest, how many years have we really seen Oklahoma City be what we thought they were going to be?
Yeah.
You know, they're almost like, in a lot of ways, Oklahoma City are like the Philadelphia Elite, like in SimWorld Prep. You know, we have this, or at least me, had this idea they were going to be this, and they weren't, right? Or Showtime, right? You know, they have all this talent, they have all this other stuff, and they have a good year, and no. And so the fact that they're maintaining this season this deep, you know, again, we'll see what happens, but I've got a feeling Oklahoma City is going to close it out, and then we're going to have Oklahoma, Indiana, which is going to make everybody who drives a tractor happy. SWBA finals.
But yeah, that's one of those things. Like you mentioned, like when is Oklahoma actually the Thunder actually shown that they were gonna do what they were expected to do? I mean, they had Harden, Westbrook, and Durant for how many seasons together and could never get it done. But here they are. And they're proving it right now. Everybody still said, even though they had that experience from last season, still said they're a young team still. They're still a young team. They are. It's not over until they win that fourth game. And they could not. They may not. But I do think, I mean, they're playing a type of basketball right now that I really do. I expect us to see Pacers Thunder in the SWBA finals. I don't know. Do you think a lot of people will watch that? Do you think?
I do. I'll tell you why. I think there's a mini viewership pushback against certain players, against certain organizations right now. And I think to have two teams vying for their first SWBA title, I think it's going to be compelling enough that the people who push back against the popular max contract standard bearers will be enough that the SWBA will have that viewership that will make it an interesting final media-wise.
All right. Yeah, I know it's one of those things. I agree. There is people are trying to take control back of these things, and we always wonder how much control do we really have.
Right.
We always do, but yeah, it's one of those things where if you said Thunder, Pacers, everybody would probably laugh at you if they said that was potentially going to be the SWBA finals.
So true.
But yeah, it's regardless, it's going to be a great series. Whoever faces who, if these two teams come back, if the Timberwolves and the Knicks come back and they face off, or whoever wins, if Oklahoma and the Pacers hold on, it's going to be a great series no matter what. Great basketball going on. Great basketball going on. Well, I guess enough of me rambling. Do you have any final words for the people, Maestro?
It's so funny you would say people want to control stuff, right?
Yep.
I'm sure everybody heard the Shaq story about how he ended up in Orlando when he, I hope you, I don't know if you haven't heard the story yet. Shaq came out and said that, because everybody was wondering how come certain teams get the number one draft pick when they get the number one draft pick. And Shaq said that, David Stern asked him, do you want to play where it's hot or where it's cold? And he said, I want to play where it's hot. And David Stern says, okay, I'll make that happen, and gave him a wink. And that's how Orlando ended up with the number one pick. I hope this story has been made public. If not, I've probably just lost a friend who actually shared this with me. But now also, for the record, Shaq also says he makes up stuff a lot of times and he doesn't mind calling himself out. So, but that being said, You can only control what you control. That's why we have to play the games. We appreciate all you guys for not only listening to us, talking to us, giving us great ideas what to talk about, but also watching all our products, all the podcasts, March Pod, Blaze Take, the J Rock Show, B Ron Quick Hits, everything that you guys watch and make, you all make it so much fun for us. I just cannot say thank you enough. Really appreciate you.
Absolutely. We thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week.